What's going on to another great day? For me personally, it wasn't that great after I screwed myself in the Florida A&M game. However, I will say this, it was a really good day of viewing basketball. We had that Davidson comeback. We had the South Dakota State game-winning shot. That was great also. And I just think that is a beginning of what's ahead of us, and I look forward to it. So I was really impressed with what I saw last night. Some really good performances, some things in my notes that were adding up and working out, and it's going to be an interesting 4 months. So let's get right into it. We'll start with Western Carolina and Maryland. Now, the thing for Western Carolina in this matchup is, can they control the tempo? That's what they're going to have to do against Maryland. I obviously have a little bit of a soft spot for Maryland because of Julian Reese, but I just think that when you go up against a Big Ten school, you got to bring your best game. And I think that Western Carolina, when you're going to get Tyshawn Claude and Trey Jackson, Tyler Harris going, you're going to have a lot of success. Now, in the first half versus Georgia, they did a really good job of D'ing up, of making their shots, of limiting their turnovers. And I think that it's all about shot selection. If three isn't dropping, go and get to the free throw line. With Vontarius Woolbright and Tyshawn Claude, they did that very nicely. I think that they got there maybe under 10 times combined, but they made 75% of those shots. And that's what matters to me. I think that this is a Western Carolina team that isn't going to play very deep based off what I watched. I don't think that they have a lot of trust in the bodies to do that right now. I'm not saying down and not in the conference season that would be the case. I do like the addition of Russell Jones. I like him with his on-ball defense. I like him as a rebounding guard, even though he's one of the smallest guys on the floor. I just think in this game tonight, it's going to be a lot more difficult to score. And based off what we saw, how they struggled to get to 55 against Georgia, it just seems like this is a spot where you want to take the under. Now, the betting public definitely has not agreed with me on that. I saw this line at 139.5 this morning. I see it as high as right now 144. It's a drastic move. It could be right. But I just think that when you look at Western Carolina, if they're going to play 5 or 6 guys 28 minutes or more, they're going to have to play a little bit of a slower tempo. Throw in the fact that this is a very good on-ball defending, a good switching defense Maryland team at home. I expect to see something similar to what we saw the other night with them. Them win by 20 and then play really good defense. So I like definitely the under in that game. When we go to Towson in Massachusetts, this is probably one of my favorite games, but it is a game that's had some pretty serious line movement. We've seen UMass open up as a 2.5-point dog. They are now a 3.5-point favorite. And let's not forget, Towson is not someone or a program to really put your nose up at, because these guys are experienced. They have very good upperclassmen leadership, physical players, and this is another team that can go deeper. Chances are they're not going to, because they have guys that can log these types of minutes. But like I say, when you want a player at this level to play more than 32 minutes, you're not going to get more than that when it comes to quality minutes. You may be able to play them all 40 minutes, but 8 of those minutes are not going to be quality. And that could be what does Towson in. It happened in their exhibition game against St. Joe's, where they threw away a lead by not being aggressive and taking the foot off the pedal. I do think that this could be a tale of two halves, with Towson coming out, maybe surprising UMass with their physicality, and maybe they're a little more efficient scoring the basketball because they are coming off a game versus Albany where they were 25% from the three-point line. However, they did make a bunch of free throws. I think in this game, it's very easy to think about a first half under when any games involving Towson based off their shot selection and their tempo. And then when you look at UMass, there's definitely some good stuff going on there. When I watched their game against Central Connecticut State, even though it's Central Connecticut State and a much lower tier opponent, Dominguez was physical, scoring around the rim. Noah Fernandez doesn't look like he has to score 20 points every game. He was like 3 for 4 at one point when I was watching from 3, and they were very calm, collected shots. And I just think that this UMass team, if they get some really good backup point guard play from Dion Thompson, I think that could be the nail in the coffin. I like the size that they have with Levesque. I like the size that they brought in with Isaac Conte. We got the coach's son, Brandon Martin, on the team for Frank Martin. I just think that at the end of the day, they may not have the cleanest first half, but I do expect them to up the tempo, force Towson to score and match bucket for bucket, and eventually overcome and take them. So, at 3.5 right now, I'm not going to tell you to take it, but I do think that UMass wins the game. So if you want to incorporate their money line into another confident play you have, that would be the way that I would go about it. All right, Central Michigan and Marquette. Now, I do think that there's a lot of good things that could happen with Marquette, but I'm not sure that they're the type of team right now that I want to be laying this type of number with. Even though Central Michigan is very unproven and Marquette has a fellow Canadian of mine in Olivier Maxence Prosper, formerly of Clemson. Now, I do think that Marquette has an advantage here. When they get the ball into Tyler Kolek's hands, he's already shown an ability to get into the paint and force defenders to make mistakes on him, and that gets him to the free throw line. That's where you want him being able to score at least a portion of his points because it's one of his stronger suits. I'm not sure that Shaka Smart has a lot of faith in a guy like Zach Wrightsall yet. I'm not sure if we see a ton of him tonight. I think that when you look at it, Cam Jones is the guy that you're really looking for the next step forward. We saw a glimpse of it before he fouled out of the game, and that's going to be something that they're going to have to do a better job of. When you have close to 20 turnovers and then close to 20 fouls, that means at least one guy's fouling out. And if it's a starter, it hurts you that much more. I do think that when you look at Iguodaro and the game that he had inside the arc, he was amazing near the rim. Everything that he was getting near the rim, he was converting. And that's what you need if you're Marquette. You need to be able to use that pressure defense, turn people over, and not be forced to pull up and push the ball back out. Instead, going and getting that transition bucket. So I think that Marquette's going to win the game. Don't get me wrong. I just not comfortable laying this type of number, even in a second game after watching them play against Radford. All right, Cincinnati and Cleveland State. Now, this is a line that's moved, and I'm not going to tell you to jump on the spread, even though I was told to jump on the spread of Creighton, and that number has moved a bit. I'll say this. Cincinnati with Landers Nolly in the American Athletic Conference, possibly going up against all these other teams that he's already played against, is a good thing for this Cincinnati Bearcat team. I think that when you look at Cincinnati, they have the better coach. And when you look at what he can turn Landers Nolly into this year, is something that Penny Hardaway had like 2 or 3 years to do and he couldn't do it. So I'm all about this Cincinnati team. I love Wes Miller as a coach. I love them at UNC Greensboro. Now he has the pieces to score offensively, but he also has the upperclassmen to play the kind of defense that he wants. Rocking out with you-know-what on the glass. And I think that playing good man-to-man defense is something that these guys are going to have to keep on showing. Now, Going up against Chaminade is nothing special, but you got to take in what the shot selection was, how the volume was, how the free throw shooting was, because that doesn't matter who you're playing if you're making free throws or missing free throws. When you're talking about the rebounding numbers and what the plus minuses on those, that matters to me. Not what the guys scored in the game or how many minutes or what the rotation was, because we know in these non-D1 games where you're not losing and Cincinnati won the game by 43, you're just not going to run your guys out 30 minutes unless they're new to the program and you want to get them acclimated quickly. So I think that when you look at Wes Miller's team, he did add Rob Finizzi, so that's an experienced, ball-handling, good defending guard that you can throw out there. And then he got freaking Ezepe, who's definitely a good bruiser, a good interior defender, and he's going to definitely provide some solid minutes up front. Now, the problem with him is going to be, can he make his free throws when he gets fouled in those offensive situations? I'm not so sure about that. I think that the best way to play this game right now, unless you're going to take Cleveland State, who I would say is one of the more depleted teams in the nation after their coach left, but they're not a walking freaking bucket. They're not going to get laid out every day. This is still going to be a good defensive team. This is still going to be a team that fights and has some grit, but I just don't want to be taking Cincinnati at 22 or 22 and a half. I would be interested in taking the other side now, but like I said, I've already made my play. I think that when you look at this Cleveland State team, they're going to need Deontay Johnson and Sean Parker and Yael Hill to really take step forwards. They do have Tristan Yanora, who's coming over. I think that he's a guy that, listen, didn't have the opportunity at Kansas. I think that now he's going to be able to really be the primary scoring option. And coming from his Power 5 background of playing at Kansas and playing at Iowa State, I do think that really helps him at his size in this conference where obviously the talent is lesser than others in the horizon. So in this game right now, if you're looking to make a bet on it, I think that you got to consider Cincinnati's team total. I don't think that Cleveland State really is going to be in a good situation trying to slow this game down, because they may go through a scoring drought and Cincinnati may not. But a home opener for Cincinnati against a Division I opponent, I expect them to be better offensively and play their starters more minutes. So Cincinnati team total will be what I look at there. North Dakota State and Kansas, this is a real interesting game just because I think I would be looking to take Kansas first half and full game. I'm a little worried about doing that against this type of opponent because North Dakota State does have the ability to slow the game down. I don't think that will really help them in this matchup. I do think that they're going to have to make shots in order to stay in it. And I just think that when you look at the next group to take stage for the Bison, Grant Nelson has to be the best. You got to get some good production out of Andrew Morgan, because what has this team thrived on? Having those two big men that provide you that double-digit scoring, that close to 10 rebounds a game. They're going to have to do that in this game. Going up against Kansas, they're long, they're athletic, they have depth. And when you look at what Grady Dick has brought already in his first game in exhibition season, it only leaves you with a fantastic taste in your mouth. It's like goddamn candy. So I'm excited to watch this new group at Kansas develop. I think that this is a game where if they want to beat them hard, they can. If not, they're going to beat them by 18 to 21 points. I think Kansas full game is the play that has the most intrigue to me. But with the total going from 143 to 147 and a half, it's just it's missed my threshold. So I'm not willing to take the over at 147 and a half. I do think that there's a good chance that we see a 90 to 60 type game. So I like Kansas full game. That's the play that I like the most. And I'm hoping that Kansas does a good job of getting into the paint, using their big men to bring out North Dakota State's big men so they can't just pop up there. And hopefully it's a sweat-free win because this Kansas team, if they play small ball, they can really take North Dakota State out of their element and out of rhythm. So I like Grady Dick. I like DeJuan Harris. I like obviously Jalen Wilson and Kevin McCullough. But I just think that if you want to take North Dakota State out of what they do best, play small, run, force them to match bucket for bucket. If they can't do it, you're going to win this game by 20-something. All right, Nebraska versus Nebraska Omaha. Listen, Omaha is no one's friend. This is one of the teams that I am obviously scared to bet on, but I just cannot ever bet on this Nebraska team as this type of number. I can't do it. So right now, I'll take Omaha. Now, my question for Omaha is, what's the story with Lamel Robinson? Didn't play more than 10 minutes in the first game against Kansas. He's going to be needed tonight if they want to stay in this game. Now, I like Frankie Fiddler. He's a good player, but he needs help. I think that with this roster, a lot of unproven players, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to continue to get to the free throw line, limit their turnovers, and not put their opponent there because they like shooting threes. I'm not sure if they're good at shooting threes, but you definitely need Robinson back in the lineup. Hopefully he's just like on a minute limitation and he's going to be more effective and on the floor more tonight. Because if it's Frankie Fiddler and freaking Markel Sutton as your 1-2 combo, I'm just not confident enough. So I think that if we do get Robinson back in the lineup, Omaha scores some points, Nebraska doesn't win by what the spread is, and then everything's okay. So that's how I look at it. Southern Illinois and Oklahoma State. I think that this is a game where Oklahoma State has a big advantage with Musa Cisse. I think that they really could utilize him down low, and I don't think Southern Illinois has anybody that the coaching staff's going to trust to put on the floor that can stop them. I like Southern Illinois when they're scoring, when they're moving the ball from side to side, because they're great at that 4-out offense. You know, at home, they score the ball at a much higher rate than I've seen them do on the road. And against Oklahoma State, this is not your premier Big 12 program, but they do play in the best conference in basketball. So I'm not going to really discount them as much as other people normally would. I think that this Oklahoma State team definitely has the dominant big men. The question is going to be, can they get that perimeter scoring? I did not like what I saw from Caleb Asbury. I didn't think that he was effective at all. I think he went 0 for 4 from 3, and they brought him in to shoot the 3 ball. Now, Bryce Thompson and Avery Anderson are great scoring combo guards, but I don't really want them handling the ball. I want John Michael Wright playing big minutes. He's done it at High Point. He knows how to score against Power 5 competition. And I just think that if Mike Boyne wants to play and get the best out of this roster, is shorten the bench, get Caleb Boone, Musa Cisse, John Michael Wright, Thompson, and Anderson on the floor as much as possible. If they do that, I think that with their ability to freaking shoot from the mid-range, stretch a defense, close out on a three-point shooter, that's going to play a big factor. I'm not playing too much into what happened against UT Arlington. I feel like there was just bad three-point shooting and just not a notion that let's stop hitting these things. Let's go inside where we've been dominant, where we've been getting to a bunch, and take advantage like that. I just don't think at the end of the day that's going to happen. So hopefully they're hitting some threes tonight. This is a team that is very good close to the rim, a lot of good drivers, and a lot of good guys that can set a good screen. So it's something that we've seen certain teams practice before game, and it's something that we've seen them execute also in game. So I think that Oklahoma State definitely gives a little bit of a shove to Southern Illinois, but I would not put it past Southern Illinois to cover the number. I just think that at the end of the day, if they can pound it into Cisse and Boone, I don't think that Southern Illinois has an answer for them. And if this game is played like 76, 80 possessions, yeah, I don't think it's going to turn out well. So I've been wrong before, but I just don't think it's going to turn out well. All right. Hold on. Let me just read these comments. I like Vermont also. I like Stephen Austin first half, but I do not like them full game. Gardner Webb is definitely underrated, in my opinion. All right, let's talk quickly about Illinois State, Eastern Illinois. I just like this as a bounce back spot for Illinois State. They're playing an Eastern Illinois team that just frankly is not very good, and I think that going up against a team in state is going to help them just be able to get back on the winning ways. I thought that they would beat Western Illinois quite handily, and even though Trenton Master didn't have the best game, it still didn't even matter. So when I look at this Eastern Illinois team, I worry about them being able to score the basketball from all three levels. I worry about them not being able to box out and stop teams from grabbing offensive rebounds on them. And just, I don't know if they can stop the turnovers, because if you're going to turn the ball over 1 out of every 5 possessions, that is not a winning recipe. That's not a recipe that you're going to stay within 10 points, even at home in your home opener. So I think that Illinois State is definitely dangerous to take at this number themselves. I think that the safest way to play it is just to anticipate that Illinois State can get into the 70s and they can get over the team total. I don't really have a play on the side. I do think that with Illinois State, they do have Joe Petrikis and Liam McChesney, fellow Canadian of mine, that bring you good size, can rebound the basketball, and can also score with the back to the basket. So that works for a team like this, trying to recover from the loss of Antonio Reeves by getting some guys with their feet planted on the three-point line, ready to receive and shoot. You need to be able to score from the wing if you're Illinois State, and this is an opponent that on paper, based off my projections at least, you can freaking beat. So I like Illinois State to get into the 70s tonight. That's about it when it comes to that game. Arizona State and Northern Arizona. I think that with NAU, obviously they do have a very nice piece in Jalen Cone. The question is going to be, what else do they get throughout this season? I think that when you look at Xavier Fuller, this is a guy that definitely can get to the free throw line, score free throws for you. But you're going to need more. You're going to need your guys that have been there and done it before to produce. Now, your game against Michigan State, that's a physical matchup. You know, no one's faulting you for anything in that game. You did a good job at the free throw line. You did a good job of getting what kind of shots you wanted. The problem was it was just finishing at the rim and being able to hit your mid-range jumpers. If you're not able to do that, you're putting that much more pressure on Jalen Cone, and then he's going to be taking 10, 12, 13 three-point shots a game. That's not going to be best for this team. If you want to do that against Arizona State, then Arizona State's going to fucking mop the floor with you, plain and simply. I think that you got to continue doing a good job of not fouling, not turn the ball over more than 12 or 13 times, but you need to be able to have some balanced scoring. Arizona State, in my mind, had a bad matchup versus Tarleton State. I cannot say the same thing in this matchup. I think that with the Cambridge brothers, with freaking Marcus Bagley coming back from injury, DJ Horn, Frankie Collins running the show. Now, Frankie Collins is going to be one of the most improved players in the nation this year, plain and simply. I love how he gets inside. I love his confidence. I love the fact that there is no fear from him, and that's pretty key when you're going up against some of these Pac-12 schools more into January. I think that this is a game that Arizona State is going to be able to I think that Arizona State is really going to be able to get their shots. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to make those shots. That's my problem. I think Arizona State wins this game, but they seem to be the type of group that really want to make you work for your money. And I think that with this group, they shouldn't. This is a very nice group on paper. And with a dominant point guard in the making, in the coming out, in Frankie Collins, I just don't expect them to really sit back and not take this game a lot more seriously. So I think that Arizona State wins the game. I'm not going to tell you to take them minus 15.5, but I will say this. If they don't come out and win the first half and cover that spread, Northern Arizona backers are going to be in a good position. Okay, North Dakota and Creighton. Now, this is a real interesting game just because Creighton basically – their top three guys could not hit a three if their life depended on it. When Nemi, Kaluma, and Shireman all go, I don't know, it's like 3 for 15 from three. That's just not going to work for this Creighton team, plain and simply. That's just not going to work. So I think that when you look at it, they definitely are going to have a wake-up call from their game against St. Thomas. I expect the rotation to be the same. I was just surprised that we didn't see a little more Sharif Mitchell, but I can't freaking blame Coach McDermott for wanting to have Nembhard out there as much as possible. He's a great free throw shooter, and in a game where St. Thomas did try and extend it a little, you do need to make your free throws. I think that three-point shooting it wasn't Shireman, it was Trey Alexander, Nembhard, and Kaluma. If you don't get good three-point shooting from those three guys, along with Shireman, from everybody in general, you're not going to be able to cover a 30-point spread. Right now, this number is crazy. It opened up at 26.5, and it stormed up. I don't think that it's worth really getting involved with that much. I'm a degenerate, so I will take Creighton and expect them to have a better showing, but I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it whatsoever. I think that this Creighton team, first off, they have to shoot 30-plus threes a game to cover this type of number. And as long as they're able to get those second chance opportunities off offensive rebounds and limit their turnovers so they're maximizing possessions, I do think that they will figure it out. But this very easily could end up on 26 and me fucking punching something. That's how I look at it. All right. Talking about Creighton, now let's talk about a team that doesn't shoot the three very well either, UC Riverside. Riverside on paper should shoot the three much better when you look at some of the three-point shooters like Will Tattersall, Flynn Cameron, Zion Pullen. All these guys are good three-point shooters normally, but the last, year and a half, not the last year and a half, the last year and this first game, I don't know what's happened. Obviously, they're going to have some different kind of size this year compared to what they've had before. Jock Perry was really good for them. Cal McRae was very good for them. They have some smaller guys in Kyle Owens and Jalen Martinez, but I do think that they're going to be able to produce a little heavier for them. So Kyle Owens coming over from Montana, him and Josh Bannon were a good combination. I'm surprised that he transferred, but Kyle Owens is going to be a force, in my opinion. In the game against Colorado, plain and simply, they just couldn't shoot the three, and they kept on going and shooting it. 4 for 21 is not going to cut it. I don't know if it improves tonight versus Loyola Marymount. And let's not even talk about free throws because they didn't even hit 50%. If you can't hit your free throws, you can't hit threes, you're probably not going to cover under 8 points. I think that Loyola Marymount continues and smacks them around also tonight, just like Colorado did. I think that the key to beat Riverside is obviously to be aggressive, get inside the paint, have good ball facilitation, and dominate on the defensive glass. You don't want to give UC Riverside second chance opportunities. They had 15 of them. So you got to cut that down. I think Loyola Marymount can do that tonight. I think in a home opener, you're going to get a better version of Marymount, even without Damian Douglas. But Damian Douglas has been out like every season his whole career there. So that just means that guys like Kelly Lupepe, Jalen Anderson, Justin Aarons are going to get more three-point shot opportunities, and I think that's a good thing. I think that when you look at Cam Sheldon, when he came over from Northern Arizona, you thought that he was going to be a lot better, but he struggled with his shot, and I do think that tonight we do see him revive himself and get himself back up to the caliber of guard that we've known to come and freaking expect. I think Stan Johnson is a great coach. I do think that in the second year, there will be a little more pressure. And with the size and the fact that he doesn't have to run everything through Eli Scott or he may assault people is going to be a good thing for this team. So I like Marymount today. I think that they fuck with their eyes open. And I look for them to cover 6 points versus Riverside. So we'll just move on from there. All right, Cal Poly versus San Fran. I'll make this real quick because I like Cal Poly last year. I'm not really sold on them this year. I think that with Coach John Smith, he's got probably a really nice foundation piece in Ali Karoma. But outside of that, I'm just not convinced that there's a ton of scoring that's going to be there. You're going to need Trevon Taylor and Brantley Stevenson and then Chance Hunter, the Long Beach State transfer, to really be heavy score, and I'm just not sure that happens. From a personnel perspective, I do like Chance Hunter. If you can get him on Prize Picks, I'm not sure that you'd be able to. That's a guy that I think hits 3 threes tonight or more. Just looks like he's going to be able to get a lot of shot reps in spots that he wants. And even though it was a game against Bethesda, the highlights that I watched of him were all good. So I think that he's going to probably be, aside from Stevenson and then Karoma, they're probably top offensive options. I do look forward to see if they can use Bryce Penn-Johnson, 7-footer from Washington. I like big dudes, especially in this style of offense that they're going to run. They are going to be very inside the arc oriented. They are going to put those threes out, but those threes are going to hopefully be open threes. For Cal Poly, though, in this matchup, it just doesn't really bode well for them. The problem is the lines move 2 points, and those 2 points may play a factor because this is a San Fran team that just doesn't really have the dominant big man that we've come to expect from them. Like, they brought in Tony Rokic from from UCSD. I'm not sure what his role is going to be in this offense. I don't think that he's going to be a primary front court scoring option. I think that will be either Josh Coonan or Zane Meeks. I like Zane Meeks from Nevada. I haven't really liked as much as what he's done at San Fran, but this team is all about the guards. If you get these guards scoring, running, and converting layups and getting to the free throw line, I just don't see how Cal Poly is going to be able to compete with that. We're talking about Khalil Shabazz. We're talking about Tyrell Roberts. We're talking about Marcus Williams from Wyoming and Texas A&M. We're talking about Julian Rashawn from Boston College formerly. So there's just a lot of talent on this team. Now, if Coach Grifflusen is going to freaking get these guys to run, then they're going to win this game by 20 plus. I just don't know right now. I'm on San Fran, but I got on them early, and I took San Fran's team total over also. So I'll live and die with it. In the game against Texas Southern, I think that the biggest thing that I can take from it was that they couldn't avoid fouling. Like, if you are aggressive about going into the paint, you're going to shoot a lot of free throws against this team. That's like the biggest thing that I saw. I don't really like their potential on the offensive glass. I wasn't impressed there. And I just think they're going to play small a lot of the time. So if they're not running, if they're not scoring, then they're playing tight games. All right, this is going to be the last main board game that I talk about. Georgia Southern Santa Clara. Listen, I watched that abysmal performance by Georgia Southern. I'm sure that there's definitely better performances in them. I'm just not sure that this team can freaking make anything but a free throw. They couldn't hit a three. They couldn't hit a mid-range shot. It just does not inspire a lot of confidence for me. So I'm very not impressed. That's how I would describe it. I'm very unimpressed. If Georgia Southern comes out and gives Santa Clara a real game tonight, then power to them. I got no beef with that. But after watching Brandon, what's his name? Podzimski, I think it is his name. Whatever, I can't pronounce his name. The kid that scored 30 points. That's how you should refer to him. If this is going to be a sign of things to come, that is really going to be a good thing for Santa Clara backers. Now, when you can't deny what they lost and how crucial those pieces were. However, you do have guys that can step into those roles. They just have to be able to convert and produce the production. I like Carlos Stewart and how he played. I like how Carlos Marshall, the old man, has stepped in and takes his role on. But I just think that with BP and that 30-point game, it's just ringing in my memory. It's like, wow, that was a really good shooting game. The only grain of salt that I have to put on it is that it was against Eastern Washington. And Eastern Washington's perimeter defense can make a lot of people look really good. So we'll see tonight, but I like Santa Clara in that game. I'm not touching Georgia Southern again. I ate crow on that game, that's for sure. All right. I'll just briefly talk on some of these what's it called? On some of these added board games, and then I'm going to get out of here. So, personally, I think that this Ohio State total is getting a little out of hand. I liked it at 141.5. I'm not sure that I feel that way about 147.5. It's going to be about Ohio State wanting to score the points to help it get over. And if they do, then yeah, it's going to grow. Now, Penn State is a team that I don't really like what I'm seeing with this total. I watched that Penn State game, and you have to remember it was against Winthrop. And Winthrop is not really known for their defense. They definitely give you a lot of extra possessions, even though they're a decent program. I think that with this number ballooning from 132.5 to like 141 now, it's just too much for me. Loyola Maryland has a lot of size that they can run out at you. I don't know if the Illich brothers are playing because they didn't play in the game last time out against DePaul. But I do think that when you have Golden DK and Alonzo Foray, that you can run out there to really give Penn State's front court some work on the inside. I just don't see the problem with that. I think that Loyola Maryland now with this kid Dion Perry, he may be under 6 foot, but he is a very good two-way player, and we're gonna see that tonight. Throw along the fact that Jalen Andrews and Kenneth Jones are still there as your upperclassmen and leaders. You know, I just think this Loyola Maryland team plays too good a defense to let what happened to Winthrop happen to them. So I'm definitely rocking with Loyola Maryland, and I'm just waiting for this number to stop rising. I'll take the under. All right. All right. Sorry about that. My mic got muted. I must have touched a wire. So when it comes to this Sacred Heart Rutgers game, I think that Caleb McConnell not being in the lineup hurts them because Sacred Heart is not going to be shook. We've seen that they can score. We saw how they put up 77 points and battled back and blue leads also multiple times in that game. And I just think that when you look at the caliber of quality Sacred Heart's going to run out there with 3 nice mid-major transfers that are definitely going to elevate their whole team, I just don't see Rutgers dominating this game like they did against Columbia. I don't see it going over, but I don't see Sacred Heart failing to score 40 points. So I'll take the dog here and eat crow if I have to, but I do like the under also. Colgate and Brown has already been a pretty big line move towards Brown. I would tend to agree with it. I think that this Colgate team can shoot threes. I just don't know if they have that game-breaking score. They have guys that can put numbers up. Don't get me wrong. Tucker Richardson, Ryan Moffitt and company. I just think that Brown at home at this number with how experienced their backcourt is, I think that this is just a good matchup for them. And if they can lock down defensively, I think that they can outscore Colgate. So this is not your Colgate teams of the last 3 or 4 years for non-conference season. Now, when they get into conference in the Patriot League, that will be a different story. When it comes to Western Kentucky and Eastern Kentucky, I liked Eastern Kentucky at the opening number, and now at 7 or 7.5, it doesn't really have that much intrigue to me. And with the total moving as much as it did, I'm not doing anything or going to spend any more time on it. Radford and Notre Dame, I plain simply like Radford. I haven't gotten rich playing Notre Dame at these numbers. If they win, good for them. If they don't, whatever. I just think that with this Radford team, they're definitely some high quality Division I transfers that they got, high major ones. And I think that that's going to help them in a matchup versus this Notre Dame team. Plus throw in the fact that they're not going to have a Niagara transfer Marcus Hammond. I do think that that impacts them, not 10 points or 5 points or any of that shit, but like it does have an impact on their ability to have more versatility and more depth. So I like Radford in that game. No, I didn't, Jerko. I'm going to talk about it now. I think that with UMass Lowell, this is a real interesting team to me. I think that they could be a dark horse in the America East to win it. I think that when you look at how they're built together and how Pat Duquette has this roster looking, there's just a lot of nice pieces that fit what this team does. Now, having a healthy Connor Withers is key. Having a producing Everett Hammond is key. Mikey Watkins coming over from Merrimack, that's a really good addition on the defensive end as much as it is a potential double-digit score. I think that UMass Lowell gives Columbia another beatdown. I think that this number's too short at 7.5. So I am all about UMass Lowell in this game. It's one of those scary favorites because you have seen them underperform in situations like this. But I think that the combination of having Max Brooks and Connor Withers on the wing and Everett Hammond and Mikey Watkins in the backcourt, I think that's going to be good enough tonight. So, and they also have a former St. Bonaventure Bonnie of mine, Koulibaly. I think that he's a guy that can also really succeed because I've seen big men for UMass Lowell do very good in this program, and I expect him also to. All right, Quinnipiac and Stonehill. Listen, Stonehill got beat up by a really good UConn team, probably the best team in the nation. I'll say this, UConn is the best team in the nation. All right, I don't care what the rankings say. UConn is the best team in the nation. Okay, they're the best. And if they beat down this Stonehill team by that many points, then I do think that Quinnipiac can. I think that it's one of those games where you can feel comfortable taking Quinnipiac first half and full game. I think that they do play a good bit of defense, but I just think that when you look at how this team is built, how much continuity they have, how much chemistry and familiarity they have, it's just a deal sealer. I like the Columbia transfer Ike Nakui. He comes in and gives you freaking good double-double in his first game. Like, that's what he did at Columbia his whole career. And that's what this team needed. Like, they had big men that could score, but their big men were soft. This dude is not soft. He knows his range. The only knock on him is that you just don't want him on the floor at the end of games because he can't make free throws. So you really got to be considering not running your offense through him. I don't think that's going to be a problem for the Bobcats. Like, Luis Corwright's a guy that I have high expectations for. I've had high expectations since I watched him as a freshman. He's got to be able to keep going. He's got to be able to freaking limit the turnovers, take the ball away from the guy he's defending, and just get out and run. He's a great spot-up shooter, but he knows that if you get to the rim, your chances of going to the free throw line are that much higher. Throw him with Matt Blanc, who's healthy. There's just too many weapons for this Quinnipiac team. If Quinnipiac doesn't cover this number, it's because they decide to take Stonehill lightly, and they decide, yeah, we don't care about the betting public. We're just going to win the game because we're Bobcats, and we act like that. But I think that Quinnipiac first half full game is okay by me. And I'm not on a lot of first half plays today. I think that I really want to play some full games with the teams on this slate. And live bet. So live bet in the Discord, baby. Whoa. All right. So we'll move on to Presbyterian and Citadel. Let's see how we're doing for time. Okay, still 14 minutes. So that works. Listen, I think that when we talk about this Citadel Presbyterian game, it very easily could be an ugly, ugly duckling of a spot. Like, the 134 that's out there now may not be freaking low enough. I think that with Citadel, though, I think that they get out to a good start at home. I do think that they push the tempo. They understand that Presbyterian is going to want to D up. They're going to want to lock down. I think that the easiest way to do that is do what comes to your program naturally, and that is run. Now, there's no debating how much talent this team lost when we talk about Hayden Brown, Jason Roche, Fletcher Abbey. But they move on. They refill, and that's what we got to see tonight. I think that Citadel has a good opponent that they can go up against, and I think that this is a group, when it comes to Presbyterian, that while I do like some of the pieces they have, like freaking Winston Hill and Trevon Reddish, I'm just not sure that Owen McCormick could be your star big man down low. Now, I do think that there is some potential with freaking Porter Stanley. I just don't know if he's going to get the minutes from Coach Farrell. So watching highlights of them in their non-D1 opener definitely gives me some nice feelings and some nice view. But they didn't run their true rotation out there. They wanted to get guys some minutes. And I just think that in this game against the Citadel, if they can't get out to a lead, if they can't control tempo, then I think that they're going to get run out. So Citadel is not a pretty pick. It's not the best pick on the board, but I'm riding with it. I'm 1-0 with them, and I'm believing them in their home opener that they can put up 70-plus points, and Stephen Clark can lead this team. So, listen, they're going to put up a bunch of threes. They're going to get to the free throw line. They're going to be good and responsible with the basketball. That's what I want in a team that I'm laying a couple points with. So I'm riding with the Citadel. All right, Gardner Webb and Stephen F. Austin. This is a game where I do like a split game. I like Stephen F. Austin to get out to a good start, but I do like Gardner Webb, who is a very quality defensive team, to be able to adjust and figure them out. Listen, Gardner Webb is led by some very nice pieces. When we're talking about Kareem Reed, that's a guy that I have high expectations for. But when you look at some of these backcourt pieces that they have, Lucas Stieber from Green Bay, very experienced. DQ Nicholas from Southeast Missouri State, also very experienced. These are guys that can really refill after Gardner Webb got freaking raided by high majors from the transfer portal. I think that when you look at Anthony Selden at 6'6", he has good enough size to make a difference. The question is, can he be efficient enough? And frankly, can this team do a good job of turning their opponent over and doing a good job of not letting their opponent get second chance opportunities and offensive rebounds. That is the key, because what I have a problem with when it comes to this Gardner Webb team, and their one aspect of defense that I do not like, is just their 3-point defense. If you're going to allow teams to shoot 40% or better, that is not going to work with your quality and your style that you're going to play. I think Stephen F. Austin gets off to a good start. I just don't think that they're able to hold it. So, definitely my guy Kyle McDonald. Obviously, Whack Hoop Digest. He's not going to like that, but I got to go against this whack school today. So Montavious Murphy's already been ruled out, I believe. I'd have to double check on that. So that just puts more pressure on Jostle and Roddy Ware and company to lead the offense. I think that this is a great game. If we get some points early and then a little bit of a slowdown. I figured that this game would get into the 140s, but I'm not sure that the betting market agrees with me on it. So we'll have to go up against them, and I'm going to say that we find a way into some points. I think that Gardner Webb does not control the tempo early, but controls the tempo late. I like over Gardner Webb full game, Stephen F. Austin first half. If I go 2-1, I'll be happy. Texas Southern and Texas Tech. This is a spot where Texas Tech defense is going to be on the forefront. Now, what do we know about Texas Southern? Texas Southern's experience. They have, what the hell is that freshman's goddamn name? Hold on. Now I have to look it up. I forgot what the freshman's name was, or a sophomore. Even though I don't like Texas Southern as a whole, I will say that Davion Barnes, the freshman, yes. This is a kid that I have high expectations for. I think that he's really good. I don't know how to explain it. I just think that he's really good. This is a guy at six? I think he's 6'4", 6'5". He can really score the basketball, plain and simply. He can do a good job on ball defense for a freshman. This team is going to turn you over. They're going to take care of the basketball. They're going to get to the free throw line at a high rate. That is the biggest challenge for Texas Tech. Can they keep Texas Southern off the free throw line? I don't think so. I just don't think so. The other issue for Texas Tech is the offense is behind. You can see it. I don't think that against a team that we've seen knock off Power 5 teams as a big underdog, that they can take Texas Southern lightly. I think Texas Southern is in this game from minute 1 to minute 40. I think that they give Texas Tech all they can handle, and I think Texas Tech fouls a lot of people and puts a lot of free throw Texas Southern guys on the line. Now, from a Canadian standpoint, obviously, with Faradaw being out, the only Canadian that I'll be cheering for Texas Tech is Crestwood Prep product Elijah Fisher. But I don't think that they're covering 20 points. So I like Texas Southern. All right, this is a game that's moved against me, and I don't agree with it, so it can fuck off. North Alabama, Alabama A&M. Ortiz is not going to be the difference maker for North Alabama tonight. They may score a shit ton of points because this is an in-state rivalry, but when Alabama A&M brings back their top pieces, and even though they're not a great team, they did do a good job of adding. I think that when you look at Omari Pete Green coming over from Delaware State, I believe, Messiah Thompson coming over from Campbell, Garrett Hicks and Cam Tunker finally have some extra guys and some extra bodies that can fill up the rim. Not even mentioning Dalen Smith. Now, EJ Williams is a guy that is going to be counted upon, and as a upperclassman, I expect him to score down low whenever he wants. Now, I just think that this game is going to be hard to watch, and that's more because of the YouTube channel feed that Alabama A&M has. But I think they're winning this game at home, and I'll give them the credit where credit's due. I think that they win. So I don't like the line move, and I don't agree with it. So fuck you, Dan Ortiz. All right, just a couple more games. Indiana Bethune-Cookman, that's a pass. Houston Christian and Texas. I'd only take Houston Christian. I'm not going to take Texas as a 37-point favorite, and I didn't. I got them at a worse number. I think 32.5 on opener. 3 games. Okay. These are the games I actually want to talk about for my guys, for my guy Moses, for my guy fucking IT, and obviously Jess and everybody in the group chat. Nicholls State and Wyoming. So Nicholls is definitely the type of team that is going to give you a lot of opportunities to hit open shots. So they regularly double team people, so corner threes will be available. They regularly freaking overhelp on defense, leaving somebody open with a lane to drive to the rim. Then on the offensive side, they do a good job also of hitting their shots when it comes to inside the range. They love the teardroppers. They want to get close to the rim, but they don't use a ton of shot clock. So I just can't really get on a first half under in a game like this just because of that fact. Wyoming is going to be different with Graham Ike out, but with the high major transfers that Jeff Linder brought in, I don't expect them to slow down, and the number definitely reflects that. 146 to 155 is a pretty big move for a college basketball game. I think that with Max Agnew-Campolo, the USC transfer, he gives you what Graham Ike can do, and he can run the floor. I like his skill, and I like his ability to draw the defender out to the perimeter. I like the fact that Hunter Maldonado is not going to need to have the ball in his hand, and that could give him more scoring opportunities as well. I just think that this Wyoming team is going to really play a different style of basketball than what we saw last year, and that's based on the personnel. They're deeper. They have more options and more perimeter options than they did, and more ball handlers. So at the end of the day, I think Wyoming routes them just like Arizona routed them, and I think that we see a high-scoring first half. It's not something that I'll be betting, but I'd definitely rather bet the full game when it comes to this matchup. And I think Wyoming doesn't miss a beat without Ike in the lineup. I think that they just get much better when he comes back. So I'll roll with that. Now, I think that when we talk about this next game, it's probably the best game on the board, so I'll just save it till last. Alabama State and USC. This USC team has a lot of pieces that are young and new to this level of basketball. That I'm just not comfortable laying this type of number with. So I respect the line move. I'm not going to mess with that game. Alabama State, if they stay within it, applaud them, but they're going to be playing a very angry USC team coming off an outright loss. So it's a dangerous game to get involved with. That's why it's at 11 o'clock and the last game on the board. Now, let's talk about the best game on the board. Vermont versus St. Mary's. I am just enamored with Vermont. They've just been such a good team to bet on throughout the years, and I just don't think that stops now. Now, these are two teams that I want to be betting on throughout the year, and with good reason. Now, with Vermont, obviously they lost a ton of pieces, especially Ryan Davis is the one that jumps out to me, obviously, but I think that they're going to be okay. I really like Aaron Deloney. Now, it's not just because he's coming off a 30-point game. It's because he waited in the wings, he learned, and he mastered it, and now he's being able to take advantage of his loyalty. Other guys would have transferred out and be like, I'm losing out on my eligibility, I'm missing out, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. This is a kid that just has his head on his shoulders right. He's a great all-around basketball player, and I think that we're seeing the beginning of something special for him in particular. Now, if we can get added production from Finn Sullivan and Dylan Penn, that's fantastic. The other thing that I really like about this team is my fellow Canadian, TJ Hurley. First game versus a D1 opponent, double-digit scoring. This is a kid that just knows how to get to his spots on the floor and is able to make the most of his opportunities. He's not afraid to go in and get physical. Obviously he's going to have some freshman mistakes with turnovers, But I think that this is a super sub off the bench for Vermont. And I'm very interested to watch this game and see how he matches up with some of St. Mary's guards. Now, on the St. Mary's side is no slouch. They have probably the WCC newcomer of the year already, and I'll call it now. Now, I will say and give credit to John Rothstein for pointing it out, but St. Mary's freshman Aiden Mahoney or Mahaney, whatever the hell his name is, this kid is going to be special. This kid is a difference maker. And going into this year, there was major questions who was going to emerge for Logan Johnson to have as a running mate. And if this kid is able to build off his game that he had against Oral Roberts, wow. Coach Bennett is in the gold. And what was the other big concern? What were they going to do in the front court? How are they going to replace some of the size and some of the scoring that they lost there? Mitchell Saxon, backup last year, starter, double-digit contributor this year. Put it in your book. I think that St. Mary's is good. I think St. Mary's is going to be good when WCC season comes along. And I just think that this St. Mary's team against Vermont tonight is going to be a tight game. I'm hoping that it's ugly and it's literally a rock freaking moving fest. But when I watch both of these teams play and I watch both of their games, they look like they can score. So we're going to see. I'm going to do what works. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the dog here. And I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this game and probably have a bunch of live bets. So it's going to be a good one tonight. I don't care what some of my favorite Twitter follows say, like Tony Patelis and Eric Haslam. This is a great card. It's going to be a good card. I want to make some money tonight. All right? I hope you do too. And listen, let's dip those chicken tenders in honey. Make sure you're visiting your local Popeyes and KFC for your mighty bucket for one. It's a great deal. And listen, the pipes in your bathroom, they won't hate you afterwards. It's okay. All right. That's about it for me. Thanks very much. Appreciate you guys as always. And see you tomorrow.